Afternoon. Let's get back to a little bit of talk about what may or may not be expected. Um, it's kind of talking about last night about what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. Let's get back to what they refer to as sleeping on it. Uh, Mainly, there's not a recording, but every time a person gets in trouble in space, we told people to make a hard drive or actually a CD drive, ROM disc of music and stuff, their own voice, pretty much everything, anything and all things non-negative. And what happens is when you get in trouble in space, uh, we'll just simply come down uh, and turn it on. If you leave it on constantly, it gets more annoying to the mind and the thoughts than anything. Um, as far as being in a trinium sleep, it's pretty easy. Most of the time, you're so far asleep that you don't, your mind's not really conscious of what's going around. Your blood pressure drops down to a certain level to accommodate the sleep. Therefore, you don't need as much. Some call it anesthesia, some call it this, that, or the other thing, but pretty much don't use as much. Doesn't require a fluid bag. Only now and then, every 3 months, does one ever end up being used. Keeping any and all things in its proper proportion. So anyway, some all right. Getting back to what we call categorizing a person mentally in 2 years worth of training. Well, 2 years worth of training, the first 6 months we dig through your life, and we find every nasty little detail about you out. Which we tell most people, just write down everything you've ever done, whether embarrassing or not embarrassing. You get categorized on a ship and you get categorized to a planet. Reason for this is to separate people from getting into conflict. This planet was actually more of something to try out than anything, because people were like kind of getting sick of each other but tolerant of each other. So we kind of mixed a few people in on a single planet to see if they would come together or be able to overcome their differences or not be able to overcome their differences. The past shows more war than it does anything of overcoming differences, so therefore you guys will be separated again. Neptune was a multi-class planet, non-lockdown version, except it was required to be locked down every decade for 1 year, to see how things and people were going. As far as insanity, didn't really have anyone insane up there. Didn't have anyone insane in Saturn. Saturn was what they call a weak planet, because of the fact of it needing an importation of dirt, and the other hauler that is required for that is 10 years away. Now, with that said and everything, Saturn may just end up being referred to as Mars, but Mars is considered unacceptable because it's actually traveling a lot closer to this planet than we'd like it to. So pretty much, ignoring what we call the flux. And I told you last night, all the flux is a group of, it's pretty much a water mass that's unseeable. And once you run into it, it screws everything up. We used a probe line to be able to outline where these are so we don't run into them and whatnot. Now, getting into the mental state, all considerations are taken on aboard a ship for a mental state, except a prison ship, where you will be in what is referred to as an in-depth sleep. You are also, prisoners are housed out in space and not housed out in on a planet. That didn't work very well, putting them on a planet. Someone asked, like, if you're 20-some years away from where you're supposed to be, you know, how do you manage any type of family life? Well, that's simple. I don't have one. Never did. Don't really need one. So, makes that choice rather simple. So the other question of it is how soon is this going to start? Well, the biggest problem is getting all the actors sitting in Washington, politicians, Pentagon, to not keep, pretty much to try to keep them away from the hauler, because security went off a few times on the hauler, and whatnot. As far as the other spaceship, which was here in 1993, that was pretty much no more than a light-in transport. It might actually be able to get to Mars, but unlikely it's going to be able to do any long hauls. Even with a retrofit, because of the way it operates. Last retrofit on that type of design of a spaceship aircraft actually got destroyed. The metal wasn't thick enough to stop asteroids, even the smallest of one, from going through it. As far as what you eat, you pretty much eat a liquid diet, so that's why every now and then in what's called a rotating circulation room, where you get a weekend version of gravity, enough to sit down where you'll be required to eat for 20 minutes. And it really doesn't take 20 minutes to eat, but it takes 1 hour for your food to digest properly because of light and gravity. And that often takes a very, very long time with a large amount of people. Where we'll wake you up, you'll come out of sleep stasis status and delirious stasis, and you'll actually have something to eat. So don't look at steak and stuff. It's going to be more like yogurt, anything that the body can pretty much dissolve rather quickly. That's not bad taste. No, it's not like guru or yogi. I mean, yogi, that stuff is nasty tasting. Some say we feed you baby food. Sometimes we do. Crushed up baby food, so the body naturally processes it faster. At different standpoints, you'll see different things. Most animals will be transported normally on what we call a second round level, where we get almost all the people off, and we end up leaving probably about 10,000 behind. And their job is to round up animals. That requires the pterodon hauler, which, speaking of, I gotta see if I'm gonna even run into that hauler on this trip. But anyway, it's actually one stinky ship. Hasn't been cleaned in a while, but I mean, it's clean, but it's not. So anyway, you may ask, what'll happen to this planet after it's all said and done. Normally we bring in, another ship which is even bigger than the one, that I actually can, haul with, and that's the one where we just pretty much take everything. We take this huge machine, we cut 50 feet down into the dirt, and we just take the dirt and pretty much throw it on a ship. Or we may harvest everything off to the ground and stack it up and take it. Mainly root end. Gets trees to start seeding again. And that's kind of the fun part, because last time they didn't see me for over 400 years, because I had to take a planet apart. As far as oil, gas, and all that, gas would be liquidized into a substance that looks like dirt, and then we do a toxicol. That's a toxicol. Is actually, it's not too bad. Only way you go, 4,000 miles an hour. Well, 4,000 miles. Every so, I wouldn't say an hour, but it's a little bit faster than that. When you say 4,000 miles an hour, it's actually 6,000 up there. It's a slow ride. High-end ventilation. We actually allow the stuff to get frozen. It's technically a really, really cold ship. You can't use heaters very much. Anyway, all these plants will end up being reduced down to nothing and taken away. How long would it take to tear this planet down with all the ships? Well, the ones we use to tear down planets are normally about 15 miles long. The method we tend to use is we take the outer construct of a planet apart, which allows it a little bit more free and willing to fall apart a little easier because of the sun. And then we just use like a huge vacuum almost type machine to haul it back into the cargo bays, packed up. It's a high-end pressure detail. You definitely don't want to get in around any of the bigger tubes, because you'll end up going through a propeller and it'll cut you up. It's more of a robotic operation than it is getting down, digging dirt and stuff. So we had one planet we had to let go. Still had a quarter of the planet left to take, and ended up realizing it had 4 oil wells, and we just cut it loose and up and left. Because we couldn't get it all. Eco life in space. Believe it or not, worms are a lot more tangible than you think. A worm will go to the warmest spot in a spacecraft, and normally halfway through, when we fill the haulers up, we'll put a worm strip on just regular dirt. And what happens is the worms, red worms, and all kinds of bugs end up going to the center of the dirt pile, and that's how they keep warm and how we keep them alive in space. Regardless to that, a worm's actually very more resilient than a person, because even while it looks dead, it looks dried up and everything, it tends to come back and whatnot through a different method. But anyway, so back to the topic. when we categorize people to go to other planets, is people that just don't listen. I'll be honest with you. You'll be on a planet with a bunch of other people. The Mr. and Mrs. Know-It-Alls. You'll end up being on a planet and whatnot. We kind of got a new system going. If you're one of these people that have to have a constant attention, you end up going on to what's called an entertainment planet. You live underground, and it's very cold. Snow covered. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to do there. You're required to do stuff. Anywhere from using excavation machines to keeping other machines up and running and whatnot. And someone's like, what do you do if I don't feel like doing anything? I just kick back and do what I want to do. Well, these planets do not get visited very much. They get visited every 10 years. And they take the dead people off of these planets and end up taking them to another planet to have them destroyed, the bodies at least. And whatnot. Mainly these are judgmental people. And when you have 900 years of being judgmental, to the point of trying to put legality against people in legal terms, this is a place where you get judged, not judged, but where you end up serving a conviction sentence for everyone you ever sent to jail. So when they talk about the justice system, it's the way we had it in Russia, Germany, and Europe was we never actually wrote down on paper that you were convicted of a crime. If you had debt, you always would just pretty much shut off your avenues for getting credit, loans, and credit cards, and allow you to pay back your debt in a timely manner. And when we say timely manner, like I said, it's 5 to 10 years. It's more than enough to pay most debt. When you have a house, it's a little different. We make loan companies and credit companies work with you. As far as other things, I mean, it works. Like prisoners, we'd have them out there farming. Anyone that didn't murder could go out in the field and farm and serve their time, which wasn't very long. Plus, we had a tolerance program. Tolerance program was how we treated people over there, so they did not come back into the prison system or any type of detention system, and it works.